Hey guys, it's Knights here, and I've been playing quite a lot of Final Fantasy XIV lately. It's a kind of awesome new sort of MMO title. I was never into World of Warcraft, never even gave it a shot, but this game seems a bit more casual, and since I'm a huge fan of the Final Fantasy universe, I thought I'd give it a shot. And what I sort of specialise in is in crafting. I've got all my crafts up to level 50, and I pretty much specialise for the guild in making anything that anyone needs in high quality at 100%. And I've had quite a few people in the guild and just in general ask, "Oh Knights, how is it that you craft so well, or how can you guarantee things at 100%? And I thought, you know what, let's make a little guide just to kind of give everyone, even from beginners right up to people who've been crafting quite a while, hints and tips and just how it all works. So this video is going to be split into quite a few sections, and you should see on the screen just now lots of buttons that start from the very basics of introducing crafting and what it all means if you haven't even tried it before, right up to advanced stuff like the exact optimum ways to meld crafting gear and how to high quality some of the best items in the game with even normal quality materials. So without further ado, let's get going. Okay, the first section here is going to be for absolute beginners, like literally if you've got no idea about crafting, or if you've just started and you're not quite sure what it means and the explanation wasn't good enough for you, then here we go, let's get into it. What I'm going to first off go into is exactly what crafting means, and then I'm going to go on and explain all the abilities for all the different trees, just to give you an idea of what they all are. So let's get going. Okay, first part is crafting. If you want to craft, I've got mine hotkeyed to N. I'm not sure what people on console have, but you bring up this menu, and up at the top here it has all the different crafts, and when you first start you only have unlocked recipes levels 1 through to 5, but as you level up the craft eventually you get all the way up to the top level recipes. And every recipe has a different level, and over here it shows you the difficulty and the durability and the quality. Like, the higher this number, the more difficult it's going to be to craft it at highest quality, which pretty much you want for all your stuff at the end of the day. Here it'll show you the materials that you need, and the NQ and the HQ here, whenever you want to craft something, you have to pick whether you want to use a normal quality material or a high quality material. The high quality ones make the little bar towards crafting your eventual material at high quality further along to begin with. So if you use more high quality materials, the easier it'll be at the end to make a high quality product. So let's have a look for something that I know I have the materials for, because I was just using it a moment ago. Horn glue. So right here we see it needs goat horns. The quality it requires to HQ is 1500, and it has 40 durability. Like, these are all important pieces of information, as you'll find out later. And if I want to craft it, I can choose or split it, because it needs 2 goat horns. I can split it 1 and 1 or 2 each way. Because I'm using a level 50 character to make a level 30 item and I'm really well geared, I'm just going to use the normal quality, so it starts at 0. But if I was to use 2 of these, it would already start like about halfway there, so it's exactly halfway there, so it makes it a lot easier. But we'll just use the 2, and I'll just and I'll click synthesize and show you what happens. Okay, so you get this menu brings up, it shows you your durability, the progress, and the quality. Now along beside your character menu, you get these specialized abilities, or like stats when you're a crafter. Craftsmanship and control. Craftsmanship, the higher this is, the quicker the progress goes every time you use one of your abilities that increases progress. So high craftsmanship means that you can finish the progress quicker. Control is the one that decides how high the quality goes. Right now, because my craftsmanship is so high, 1 shot of progress is going to complete this item. But when you're starting out or you're lower levels, that's not going to be the case. So you'll have to judge whenever you're crafting something how many times it's going to take to turn something from the 0 up to the max, which will finish the crafting and complete the item. But before you get it to the very end, you want to get this bar as high as possible, because if you get it to the max, and that's like 100%, it means you'll create a high quality item. So let me just show you sort of the basics. I'm going to use inner quiet. I'll go into all these abilities in the next section, but just to kind of show you how the bar moves. After every time I use an ability, it's going to increase my control. So just using different abilities here, and I'm going to use a touch. The touch abilities are the ones that increase the quality, and see how the bar goes up. And now I have a 7% chance. And go again. I'll do another one. And now it's 19%. It's not a sort of linear bar. It's not that if you get halfway along, it makes it 50%. When you're over halfway, it's still only 19%. So every touch after this actually really greatly increases the amount that it goes up. So I use another kind of touch ability here, and boom, all the way up to 100%. So now I'm at 100%. If I complete the progress, it's going to get the item that's the final product in a high quality 100% of the time. And see, after every step, every touch step, like some of the abilities I was using, and honestly don't worry about them at the moment, this is just the introduction. Some of the abilities, whenever you do something that increases any of these two bars, it's going to use up durability. All the abilities in between that sort of affect the modifiers, they won't, but anything that will move any of these two bars is going to decrease the durability by 10. And when it gets down to 0, either you have to have completed the item, or if you haven't completed the progress bar, the synthesis will fail, and then you get a chance of losing all the materials that you used. So right now, since I know that I've got such high craftsmanship, and it's only going to use one, I'm going to use one more that's going to increase this bar. There we go, in one go. Down to 0, but because I finished, I complete my item, and it was HQ 100%, so 100% of the time that I do that, it's going to turn out to be a high quality item. And that's just a basic introduction. That's what the things on the screen mean when you want to craft. That's how you pick your materials, and that's how the whole bar and when you go into it moves. The next section is going to explain all the different abilities in the game, including the ones for each craft. Okay guys, the next section of this video, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go through all the different actions that are available to crafters, and all the unique ones as well. Every single person, like every single craft, doesn't matter what you are, you're going to have all the same abilities except for the one at level 15, the one at level 37, and the one at level 50. These three abilities, depending on which craft you are unique, and all the rest are going to be the same. Now I'm going to go through and I'm just going to explain quite briefly what they all do, and I'm also going to tell you what all the unique ones do. Just so some of them aren't always exactly clear how they work, and I'll give you just examples of circumstances why they might be helpful. And then in the next section we'll get on to the best way to level different crafts in order to sort of speed up your ability to make high quality items like as early on as possible. So let's go on. Basic synthesis. A synthesis, and as you see there it says increases progress. Progress, when we were looking at the bar in the introduction of the video, is how quickly it is to finish the item, to actually get it completed. It has no influence whatsoever on the quality of an item, and that's the control setting. That's how much control you have over the quality, I like to think. And you're always going to start at level 1 with the basic synthesis. The efficiency versus the success rate. The efficiency just gives you an idea of how much along the bar it's going to move along. So you've got, say, 100% here, and then later on, when you get the standard synthesis here, you see that's 150%. So, but it also costs CP, and CP is like your sort of currency for using abilities. You see the bottom here, I have 139. That's because I've got quite a lot of materia and things to increase that. But you start off with a much lower, and it's sort of like your mana pool for a crafter. And although the basic synthesis costs 0 CP, it only has 100% efficiency. So this one's going to move the bar along compared to the basic synthesis 50% more, but it'll cost you some of your mana pool. But you don't get that until higher level. But these abilities, these are the two ones that you're going to use to increase your progress. Basic touch, the touch abilities are the ones that you're going to use to move the control bar, so moving the quality bar along. And as you go up at different levels, at 5, 18, and 43, just the strength of the touch ability is going to increase, but also the mana cost, or your CP cost, increases quite significantly as well, so knowing when to use the right ones is quite important. But in essence, this is just how you increase the quality. The Master's Mend, you get Master's Mend 1 here, and Master's Mend 2 later on at level 25. These increase the durability of an item. So it means when you get down to say 10 durability, you're quite close to finishing the item, but you still have quite a lot of your mana pool left over, you can actually use one of these to give you more shots at increasing the quality or increasing the progress. Although these cost a lot of like CP, a lot of your mana pool, they are sort of indispensable later on for high quality crafting, but near the beginning and sort of the mid point, you'll probably find that they're not quite as important just because you won't have the CP to spend on it. Steady Hand. So this is a very important one. It improves the success rate of actions by 20% for the next 5 steps. And you see things like this basic synthesis only have a success rate of 90, or some of the touches are only 90. Well, what this does is it makes sure that they go to 100% so that you don't fail. But one of the tricks to crafting, and what I'll go into in some of the later videos, is just what order you use these abilities in. Because this is going to last for 5 turns, for instance, and certain other abilities, like the Great Strides I'll go into, last 3 turns. So knowing what order to use them gets the most out of what the abilities have to offer. But this is sort of just to make sure that some of the abilities you don't have to deal with luck. Sometimes you can go without it and just roll the dice, but it's there to sort of make sure that you don't fall into the trap of failing a synthesis right at the last step with only 90% chance success. Inner Quiet. Now this is probably the best ability in the game, and when you first start crafting it doesn't really feel like it's worth it, but trust me, this is incredible. It stacks up to 11 times, and every time you get a stack it increases the amount that the quality bar goes up. It grants a bonus to control with every increase in quality. What that basically means is every time that your quality goes up, every time you use one of these touch abilities, the next time you use a touch it's going to be an increased sort of gain. So if you use this same basic touch 10 times in a row and you get a stack every time, the 10th one is going to give significantly more towards that bar than the first one. Pretty much you want to later on, not at the very beginning when you don't have a huge mana pool and you can't really abuse it, but later on this is pretty much going to be the first thing you cast every single synthesis. And it's later on, I think it's the Carpenter, the Carpenter has abilities which work but depending on how many stacks of this you have. So once you get up to 11 stacks, it makes some of the abilities incredibly effective, and later on when I'm talking about how to high quality items 100% of the time, this is going to be one of the most important factors. Observe. See, I don't use this all that often. It's more of a sort of if you've got mana left over idea, but what it does is you do nothing for 1 step. It costs 14 and nothing happens. And the way that this works is when you're crafting, and I'll go into this more later on when I'm talking about how to high quality things, the quality of the actual material that you're crafting changes from normal to good to excellent just at random. And if you do a sort of touch ability, the one that increases quality, when it's either good or excellent, it increases the bar significantly more than if it was just normal. So later on, sometimes you might just want to observe just to see if it'll change to good to give you a more favourable outcome for your touches. But in general, this isn't one I use very often, especially at higher level, but early on sometimes it can sometimes make the difference between getting high quality and not. Okay, Great Strides, once again another incredibly important ability, but it doubles the efficiency of your next touch action, but it only lasts for 3 steps. So what you want to do is obviously a sort of general strategy for this, using your Inner Quiet, getting quite a few stacks up, and then using Great Strides along with a high level touch to get an incredibly large boost near the end of your synthesis. But later on, when I go into some of the macros that you can use to mass produce items in high quality, sometimes using Great Strides just between every touch can be enough to get items up to 100%. But okay, but that's basically all those abilities I've gone into there. They're the same for every single person. It doesn't matter which craft that you level, you'll get all that at your disposal. But it's the level 15, 37 and 50 abilities that sort of define a crafter. And as you level up multiple trades, you can see here from the additional, you can actually use the 15, 37 and 50 craft abilities with any craft. So once you get a craft high enough, you can actually pick and choose between these abilities, and that's sort of what what I'm going to be talking about later on. But right now I'm just going to go over what they each do and sort of give you examples of where they might be useful. But we'll start off, I'm at the Alchemist just now. I use the Alchemist just because I think it's the one that looks coolest. That's why I run around looking like an alchemist, so if you see me, this is usually what I'm going to be looking like. But they also have Tricks of the Trade, a level 15 ability which, in all fairness, is one of the best in the game. It says restores 20 CP, and it doesn't cost anything. But you can only use it when your material condition is good. See that I was saying earlier, how that just randomly comes up from time to time? Well, once you have Tricks of the Trade, every time it comes up, I have it just set here, you click it and it takes away the good material setting, but it'll give you 20 CP, and it's basically your mana regen. Once you have this, every time, pretty much every time, almost without fail when I'm talking about crafting, every time it comes up good, you're going to want to click this, and it's going to increase your mana pool and allow you just to perform more actions and have more chance of getting high quality. Now, in a lot of the builds and the guides I've seen online, they rely on this ability triggering very often in order to make high quality goods. Now, the builds I'm going to show later on in the more advanced parts of my video aren't so dependent on this to make sure that you get high quality, and which is why I think my builds are significantly better over ones that you might have already seen online. But it's still important. If some of the guides online expect you to be able to get this maybe 4 or 5 times out of a craft, I maybe only need it once. But it's still important, and especially at the lower levels of when you're crafting, having this ability is incredibly important. The next one for Alchemist, your 37, is the Brand of Water. Now, most of the crafts, not all of them, but most, all have a different brand as their level 37 ability. And this here, it says efficiency 100%, open brackets 200%. And this just means that when you're using a recipe that has an affinity of water, it has twice the effect on the progress bar as if it weren't. And just for example, I can open up the menu here and just show you, I know one for sure, the Leather Worker. The Dodor doublet here has an aspect Earth. So when you're using the Brand of Earth, which I believe is a Leather Worker ability, for only 15 CP you get 200% efficiency gain for only 15 cost. And see, it just makes performing those particular syntheses incredibly incredibly easy. But in general, it's just not one. I just don't use the brands that often. I find I can get by just fine with my other abilities, but that's what they're used for, and you'll find that most of the different crafts have one of these at their level 37. Now the level 50 for the Alchemist is Comfort Zone. It says restores 8 CP after every step for the next 10 steps. And I find this is maybe one of the ones I use least. Like if you look on my taskbar here, which is sort of the setup I have for almost every craft, it doesn't include this one. And that's because I just feel Tricks of the Trade's better. Like this restores 80 CP overall after 10 steps, but it costs 66. So you're only really gaining 14 from using it. And it takes a long time for that investment to come back. Whereas with Tricks of the Trade, if you use it once, because it costs 0, so if a good just pops up once and you gain 20, you've already gained a net gain more from using this once than you have from using this. So I find it's one of the least useful, but if someone has an interesting way of using it, please just post in the comments below and I'll be happy to add an update to my guide. But I honestly think this is maybe one of the ones you need least in the game. And let's go through all the other ones here. Because additional, this is how you select the different abilities that you want, and they'll appear in this bar so you can drag them down. I'll go through each of the different classes just now and just show you what they are. Rumination. Now, you see, Rumination and Byrigot's Blessing, these are the two carpenter abilities, and what these do is they remove your inner quiet, but based on how many stacks that you've gained, give you an effect. Rumination will restore CP proportional to the number of times, and the Byrigot's Blessing will increase will just give you a sort of touch ability based on the amount of control stacks. The Rumination is sometimes, I find, like a get out of jail card, and I'll explain later how that can be used with another ability to sort of salvage a failed operation. But for the most part, this is the most important one. It's a level 50 ability, which is difficult to obtain because it requires quite a lot of crafting to get, but it's one of the most important in the game. See, it says efficiency is 100% plus 20% for each bonus to control for inner quiet. And in a general synthesis, you're probably going to get that up to about level 7 or level 8 stacks. And so that's going to be about 260% efficiency just from one ability. And if you combine that, as I was saying earlier, with their great strides, which will double your efficiency for the next action, you're looking at easily a way to just boost your quality absolutely immensely at the end of a craft. And my combination for getting high quality relies very heavily on this ability. Using this at the end of a craft will just almost in all circumstances, if you're doing things correctly, secure that high quality item. And this is one of the most important ones I'd recommend. It's why leveling Carpenter to 50 is so important. But later on in my video, one of the sections is going to be on the best way to high quality items, and I'll be going more into those combinations later. But that's how this one works. The only thing about it is if you use it and it fails, you get nothing and you lose all your stacks, and you have to recast inner quiet. In most circumstances, if something like that happens, it's a disaster. But because it has a 90% success rate, most of the time, even without your steady hand, it works, so it is reliable. And Brand of Wind, once again, like I was saying before, almost everyone has a brand, and for this case, the Carpenter is the wind one. Blacksmith? Now you see, the Blacksmith I find is really useful, and a lot of the guides I've looked at just don't include it whatsoever. But I'm going to tell you later on why I think it is important, and right now I'll just explain what they do. It says it lowers the recipe level to the current level of the player for the next 5 steps, and the Ingenuity 2, the level 51, reduces it 3 levels below for the next 5 steps. And if I'll just show you quickly, you see how different things here have, oh, this is level 30, this is level 39, it shows you the level of the item. So for these ones, it's not going to make any difference when you're already level 50. But once you get to level 50, you see some of these abilities, the ones with the stars, these are level 55. See, if you see item level on the left here, it's like magic damage, auto attack, delay, then below that item level 55. And then at the very bottom, you're going to get the item level 70s. For these ones, when you try and increase the progress bar, you're going to get a tiny increase, say maybe as low as 20, 30, even with very high crafting level. But if you use Ingenuity, before you start increasing progress, you can increase that bar by about 100 and something. So it saves you, at the end of the day, say 40, 50 durability points that you could be using to gain inner quality stacks, secure that high quality item at the end. So that's why I really like Ingenuity 2, and when I go into later on how I high quality items at 100%, I'll show you just how effective it can be. But the big problem is it involves you, to really get the most out of it, leveling your blacksmith up to level 50, which is going to be one of my sort of optional points when I say which crafts I think you should level to get to the sort of optimum build quickest. But it is one I would recommend putting on your list before some of the others, just because I think this ability is incredibly underappreciated by most players. Okay, Brand of Fire, once again, just another brand. Armorer. Now these, you'll see I haven't actually got any of these selected, and it's because I don't find them very useful, but this one, Rapid Synthesis, an efficiency of 250% for progress, which pretty much means you're going to make a massive boost in progress in one shot, but 50% success rate. So if you rely on using a Rapid Synthesis, even with your steady hand, you're only going to have a 70%. And honestly, I think 70% in this game means like 2% success rate. Honestly, I just fail 70% so often. But if you want to rely on it, you can use it. And earlier on, when you haven't got all the crafts at level 50 like I have, it can be one to sort of have in your toolbar as a sort of last ditch effort, you know, sort of, okay, everything's going wrong, but let's see if this will get me out of it. But it's not one I would usually go to. And this one, piece by piece, the level 51, once again, I just don't think it's that useful. Because you can use Ingenuity, I think this increases the remaining progress by 1/3. So say if something has a 250 or 200, let's make it easier, 210 total progress, when you use this, it's going to increase it by 70. Which sounds fantastic, you know, wow, I can get this done really quick, but although I thought at first the way that this should work is that it increases it by 1/3 of the maximum progress. Now that would make it a very, very useful ability, but it only increases it by 1/3 of what's remaining. So after you use it once and you make that big sort of boost in progress, the remaining tries are going to be a third of what's left. So if you use it first to take it from say 210 to 140, and then you're looking at only increasing it of like a third of 140, so you're only going to increase it by about 45, 46. Then the next time it's going to give you an even smaller amount, and once you've ended up using that amount of durability and the CP cost, you may as well have just done one ingenuity and cast 2 ordinary like progress increases, which is another reason I just don't like this ability very often, and you won't see me using it, but that's how it works. And once again, another brand. The Goldsmith. Now the Goldsmith, incredible abilities here, and another reason why I would strongly encourage you to level your Goldsmith. The Manipulation. Now this costs 88, but like a lot of the other ones that influence durability, they're very expensive but very useful. And what this one does is it restores 10 points each step for the next 3 steps. So it pretty much does the job of your Master's Mend, but over 3 steps rather than all at once. So there's certain circumstances where this is much better, and sometimes when you just can't use it. But in general, when you're increasing your durability, if you're not already on 10 durability, this is the one you want to use. Because if you're on 10 durability, the way that this ability works is it will take you'll do your progress, it'll take it down to 0, and then it would increase it back up to 10. And if you go to 0 at any point, that's the end of the synthesis. But if you use this when you're on say 20 durability, 2 away from finishing, you'll use your ability, go down to 10, and then this will kick in and put you back up to 20. And there's some situations where this is just better because it saves you 4 CP. But other times when you're just better off using one of the higher level Master Mends. But still, it's one I use, especially for things that only have 40 durability. I find this is way more useful. The Flawless Synthesis increases progress by 40, and the reason that this is quite nice is because, especially at lower levels, you can just finish off items in one go, and if you haven't got a high level craft yet, and you use this as one of your first sort of abilities, then you can finish lower level crafts very easily. Because the thing about these abilities is, at level 1, when you first start a craft, you can use a level 50 ability. You can just put it in the bar and select it and have it ready to go. So you can actually, if you've already leveled Goldsmith before you go and level some of your other crafts, if you want to take this early, it can make increasing the progresses of the lower level items very easy. But higher level, I don't think it has any practical application at all. Innovation, however, another incredibly useful ability. This one increases your control by 50% for the next 3 steps. So at higher levels, like right now where my control is already 326, and if you've got stacks of inner quiet and your control's up to like 400 and something, and then you activate this, your control is going to be absolutely through the roof. I've seen myself sometimes with over 900 control from using Innovation. And that means your next ability is just going to be a super wombo combo and do massive amounts of increase on the quality bar. And as you can see just from listening through these abilities, it's probably becoming clear that using this Biogot's Blessing as Innovation and Great Strides, boom. But I'll go more into that later and just how to make the best use of it. But another reason why I think leveling Goldsmith is really important. Now on the most optimum level route to getting like a very high chance of creating high quality, it's not essential, but it's very, very useful. Nether Worker. See, their abilities are a little bit more interesting. I don't tend to use them. I sometimes have Waste Not, just the first one, as a sort of like fallout or like a backup plan. And I have seen a lot of strategies that make very good use of this ability because it's a great way of sort of making the best of your durability. But the way it does is it reduces your loss of durability by 50% for the next 4 steps. So pretty much the next 4 things that you do to the bar are only going to reduce it by 5 instead of 10. Now the reason this can be very good is because for only 56 you're pretty much getting the use of, you're only going to use up 20 durability. So you're actually, for 56 points, you're increasing your durability technically by 20, which is way more efficient than say the Master's Mend or the Manipulation. But the problem I have with these abilities is that if you're using a strategy that involves using the Steady Hand, the Greater Strides, your Tricks of the Trade in between your abilities, then this is actually going to not get the most out of it, because any time that you're not increasing the progress bar or the quality bar over those 4, or in this case 8 steps, is a waste of one of the ticks of this ability, because it's going to tick down over that steps, but if you don't use an ability to actually change one of the bars, you're not going to get anything out of it. So there are some circumstances where just the way all your CP and everything lines up, this can be more effective. But in most circumstances, you'll find that I don't actually use these abilities. Next, Weaver. Now, Weaver. I love the Weaver level 50 ability, just because I don't like leaving things to luck. I like my syntheses to work all the time with as little luck influence as possible. And careful synthesis is, although they have a lower increase of progress, so say this one's 90% and this one's 120%, it has 100% success rate at 0 cost. So compared to the normal action, basic synthesis, this is 100% at 90%, and this is 150% at 90%. Your Weaver ability is 100% success rate, and once you've got it to your Weaver to level 50, 120% efficiency at 100% of the time actually just makes it better in every way to your basic synthesis, which is a reason I would strongly encourage you leveling your Weaver to level 50. I know it can be a bit, leveling anything to level 50 in this game does take a lot of time, but this one is really important. See, I've just even replaced basic synthesis on my bar with it because I think it's so good. But like I said, it is one of those ones that is a little bit optional. If you rather take your risk with the 90% every time, that's fine, but this is a really good ability, and it's like, whenever I was leveling all my crafts, it was the first one I put into my toolbar at level 1, just because I hate failing things at 90%. It just irks me. Okay, Alchemist. We've been over the Alchemist abilities, remember? This was the Tricks of the Trade and the Brand of Water and Comfort Zone. And the final one, Culinarian, or Chef if you prefer. You'll see I have all 3 of these ticked. It's Culinarian. It is the most stressful one to level up to level 50, I'm not gonna lie. It's stressful because it requires you to make loads of recipes that use loads of different materials, requires lots of gathering with the botanist or buying stuff yourself, and it takes a long time. It felt like it took an age compared to the other ones, but I suppose luckily enough that I think you only really need to get it to level 37 to make the most benefit out of it. But here's the abilities, and this is what they do. The Hasty Touch is another touch ability, and it's the one that you'll see in my toolbar as number 2 because I use it most often. But it increases your quality and requires no CP, and that's the killer. This is what makes this ability so good. Although it only has 50% success rate and it only has 100% efficiency, because it costs nothing, it allows you to put all the rest of your resources into prolonging the recipe for as long as possible and increasing your inner quiet stacks as many times as possible, because the best way to get a final combo or to get your high quality item is to have loads of inner quiet stacks and just do one big wombo combo at the end. Hasty Touch is the way you're going to increase your quality. And see the problem with it, obviously being only 50% success rate, that's where Steady Hand number 2 comes in, the one right beside it, and what you need to get your chef up to level 20 or 37 to use is it improves your action success by 30% for the next 5 steps. Now you remember I said earlier that 70% feels like 0% and that you always fail? Well, 80% feels like it works most of the time. So that's why you're going to want to get the chef up to level 37 so that you can combine these abilities and just together, as I will show later on, you use Hasty Touch and Steady Hand 2 to get as many inner quality stacks as possible and then hit it with the wombo combo at the end. So that's your sort of like basic strategy, but like I said, we'll go into that in the next section, or if you've already got bored of this section, I'll have a button at the side the whole time for you to skip on to the different combinations. But in general, that's the way it's going to work. And right here, Reclaim level 50 ability, this is your get out of jail free card. Pretty much, it says increases the chance materials won't be lost to 90%. So if everything's going totally to hell and you're like, oh my word, this isn't working, I'm failing every Hasty Touch even though they're 80% success rate, there's no way I'm going to be able to get this item done. What you can do is you can combo the Rumination, you remember your Carpenter ability that removes all your current stacks, and it gives a sort of base even if you only have one stack of say 20 points. So even if you have a couple of stacks, you can just activate Rumination and then your 55 cost for Reclaim, and then just botch the synthesis, which means just using Hasty Touch all the way down to 0, and you get 90% chance that you'll get all your stuff back, and in general, that's good odds for me. My strategy later on is very effective and will find you high quality things almost all the time. But in those very rare circumstances where you fail like 9 hasty touches in a row, that's going to be your way of getting out of it. But for me, that's all the different abilities. And now the next section is going to be going into high quality crafting and, in my opinion, the most efficient way to level your crafts in order to get to a state that you can high quality as soon as possible. Okay guys, this next section of the video is just going to give you a sort of basic idea of what I think is the most efficient way to level your crafts in order to get pretty much the most efficient crafting abilities as quick as possible. Now I've seen a lot of guys that just say, okay, get everything to level 15 and then go from there, but I'm going to give you what I think is a sort of more efficient route. Now to begin with, as I've sort of alluded if you've watched some of the other sections, is I want you to get your weaver to level 50. Now I know getting to things to level 50 is like a lot of work because getting any craft takes a lot of crafting, but eliminating the luck on your progress abilities for me is so important. It means later on with some of the higher level recipes you never have to worry about one of your durability points being wasted because of this. So if you get to level 50, then you get access to a lot of different gear that you can make for people, which can sell for a lot on the marketplace. For quite cheap actually, but you also get this ability, Careful Synthesis too. So that I would definitely go for. Second of all, I know it's a hassle and the chef is the hardest one to level, but I think you should get your chef up to level 37. That means you have access to the Steady Hand 2 and the Hasty Touch. Now these two abilities used together is what's going to form the core of your strategy of gaining stacks. So level these two, get your chef up to level 37 and take these two. Next, you want to get your alchemist up to level 15, just level 15 so that you have access to this one, Tricks of the Trade. Incredibly useful ability, and it's, as I've said before, is sort of your mana regen ability and is essential for most recipes to be able to do all the things that you want to do. Next, I know it's another level 51 and unfortunately a carpenter doesn't have all that many great things for you to actually craft at level 50, but at level 50 you get the Byrigot's Blessing, and this is the core of the strategy and probably most strategies. This is how you get one huge burst of control and quality in your recipe. So this one you really need, so I'm afraid you have to get the carpenter up to level 50 for this one. And then next, these are sort of, I suppose, optional. In my opinion, they make a big difference, but you can get by probably without them. And that's your goldsmith to level 50 for the innovation, and your blacksmith to level 50 for ingenuity. Now, as an alternative, you can get just the blacksmith to level 15, which is quite easy and doesn't take long to take the smaller version of this, and it is still very effective. But I still like the level 37, or the level 51, sorry, for ingenuity too. And the innovation, once again, in a lot of recipes you can get by without it, but for that small cost of 18 CP, it usually gives that extra kick to just absolutely secure a recipe. So these two I really like, but I do think they're optional, and the only ones you really need are your carpenter level 50, your culinary level 37, your weaver level 50, and your alchemist level 15. And together that gives you the sort of bread and butter, as I would say, to get out there and craft things at high quality. And now I'll just go ahead and in the next section here just show you exactly how to do that. Okay, let's start off this next section here where you're going to want to, I'll just go to my leather worker really quick. And I'm going to show you just making something simple like some raptor leather. So I've only got, unfortunately, the high quality black aluminium and some normal quality raptor skins, and I'm going to show you, once you've got something up to level 50, the sort of the quick way of getting or getting a recipe crafted at high quality. So here we go. The first thing you're going to want to do, and as I said before, is Inner Quiet. The first thing you cast every time, because every time you increase the quality, it's going to make the next ability even more effective. Now, instead of going the route with hasty touch and try to get as many quality stacks as possible, because I've already got this up to 481, I just know from experience that I can get this recipe 100% by just doing a greater strides first. And because greater strides only works for 3 steps, usually you'd maybe want to put that second, but in this circumstance I want my steady hand to last as long as possible because I'm going to try and use the same steady hand for multiple quality ticks. So greater strides first and then steady hand. And now note, the condition is good, and in a lot of the sort of future recipes I'm going to be encouraging you to hit tricks of the trade every time. But because I know this is just a set way that's going to work, I'm going to ignore this time and just activate steady hand 2. Okay. Now next, see, I've got this still going to last for 2 more turns, this is still going to last 5 turns. I'm going to use my most powerful basic touch ability, so this is 150%. So activate that. Once again, good, but once again, this is just a sort of set method, so I'm going to ignore that. Activate greater strides again, and then another advanced touch. And then, oh, wow, see how lucky I've got with these, but once again, I just don't need them. I can use greater strides again. I can use innovation, and now I've run out of my stacks of the steady hand, so I'm going to cast that again. See now, so I've got one turn left of great strides, 2 of innovation, and now this, because it's got 3 stacks, this is now worth 100 plus 60%, so it's 160, so it's more effective than this. I'll activate this, all that together, up to 100%. 10 durability left, use my careful synthesis, and there we go. So using those abilities, the ones that I explained, just those only abilities that I used there were all ones that you can be gained from the leveling pattern that I told you before. I can even ignore all the tricks of the trade because that's just a sort of basic pattern that will work every time and will get me a high quality leather no matter what. So that's the basic strategy, in my opinion, for pretty much every item from level, say, 45 all the way down to level 1. So level 1 to 45, pretty much every item in the game, once you have a crafter at level 50 and you have high quality of all the gear that you need. And I'll go into later on the most effective way to meld and explain the gear. But once you have this setup, so you have the best high quality gear of everything, you can just do that same setup. Inner quiet, greater strides, steady hand 2, advanced touch, greater strides, advanced touch, greater strides, another steady hand, innovation, Baragot's blessing. You use that and 100% of the time you're going to 100% max quality all your items all the way up to that level. After that, that's when you want to start using this next strategy, which I'll show. So let's have a look. Yeah, let's do a merchant's belt. So I have got high quality raptor leather that I just made, which I could use for it, but we'll just do a basic quality. And see, this is an item level 48, so it's probably going to be a little bit more difficult. So let me show you how the other strategy works. We'll start off with the inner quiet, and see, I know for a fact that it's only going to take 2 careful synthesis to complete this recipe. So I can do 1 to start off now. And see, that makes 118. And this is something that, as a crafter, it's just going to take you for a while to get a feel for. The first time you make a recipe, you're not going to know exactly how much progress you're going to make. So, and also as you level up your craftsmanship and as you get more materia, this is going to change. So it's just going to take a feel. It'll take a while, it'll take a lot of recipes, but you'll get a feel for exactly how much and how many times it requires you to use your progress ability to get it to max. And now when we go on to the level 55 and level 70 items, I'll show you how ingenuity can make the big difference in this, but to begin with, you get a feel for how many times it's going to require. Now look though, the condition is good, so what I want to use is tricks of the trade. And so that's going to put my CP back up to full. And now I know that it's only going to take 1 careful synthesis to complete this recipe. As long as I have 10 durability left over, I can just do whatever I like with the other parts of this durability and not have to worry too much about completing the item. So now it's going to now I'm going to get to work on increasing my inner quality stacks. So first of all, I'm going to use Steady Hand 2 to make my Hasty Touch up to 80% effectiveness, and another Tricks of the Trade. So let's activate that now. And then we're going to start using Hasty Touch. Oh wow, first fail, but it's okay, 80% of the time, it should work most of the time. So 2 more tries left. And then another one. See that this number here, it's showing you how much increase that you got on the bar, and it's going up every time because of the inner quality. So another condition good, so we're going to use this again. We have 30 points left, and so now it's time to think about how are we going to increase our durability. We could use either Master's Mend 2, but this would increase it by 60 points, so that would put it up to 90, so be wasting 10 durability. So then our next 2 choices are between Master's Mend and Manipulation. And because we're not in 10 durability, the Master's Mend just gives us the exact same increase as the Manipulation, sorry, gives us the exact same increase as the Master's Mend, but for 4 less. So we'll use that next. Okay, so now we want to start increasing our stacks again, but I never like to use Hasty Touch on 50%, so we'll use this again. So we're back up to 40 durability because of our Manipulation, but we can start using our Hasty Touch again. Here we go. So I'll just keep going until I run out of Steady Hand. Here we go. And so now we're on 10 durability, and this is when I would like to use the Master's Mend 2. It's because it increases by 60% for only 160. It's way more cost efficient than these 2 abilities. So I'm going to use a Master's Mend 2. Good. So use my Tricks of the Trade again. Put my Steady Hand back on for activating Hasty Touch. And there we have it. It's already up at 100%, and we didn't even have to use the big combo. But I'll show you now just how that combo would work. You'd just want to use your Greater Strides, your Innovation, and your Byrogot's Blessing. And those 3 together with those 10 stacks, even if we were only at about this far along the bar, would have probably increased the whole bar all the way along. So you notice using that strategy just how much room for error. We still have 40 durability left over. We were 100% way before we even used the final combination. And once again, that just all used abilities that were available from that level pattern. And we could have had a way less Tricks of the Trade, or had a lot more fails, and that would have still worked very simply and worked very effectively. So this strategy you can use for any of your recipes if you're not 100% confident using the other strategy. And once again, remember, we only used normal quality materials. We didn't have to even use high quality. So now, one more careful synthesis, we'll finish the recipe. And there we go, Raptors, Merchants, Persa, high quality. But you'll find that my leather worker has a lot of materia, all melded, and has very high base stats. So that makes that even easier. But you can use, you don't even need that much materia to still have that effectively work. And if you want, you can use some food to make it even easier. So if you don't have as much materia as I do, you maybe want to have a dagger soup, which will increase your control by about 10%, max 27. And that extra boost of control here is about the same as all my materia that I've put into my character. So that would make your recipe level up just as easy from just having a food to increase the strength of your crafting. But let's try something a little bit more difficult. Next, we'll try a hippogriff leather. Now you see, these require you to have 275 craftsmanship just as a base to work. We're fine, but you may find that if you haven't got everything leveled, you might need some food. Now these ones, I'm still using high quality. Using 2 normal quality, even when you're really highly leveled, can still be quite difficult, and there's a little bit more luck involved in these than other recipes, especially because it only has 40 durability. But I'll go ahead and show you my strategy just now for leveling these. Now, once again, start with Inner Quiet, because that's the first thing I think I do every time. And then I'm going to do one careful synthesis. See, and I know mine goes up to 51 in one go, so it means I only need 2 of these to complete the hippogriff leather. But this is mostly because I'm really well melded with materia, and I have like the highest level of everything on my leather worker. In most cases, you'll find this probably only goes up by about 44 45 on your first go. So actually, you might want to do 2 increases of careful synthesis before you carry on doing the recipe, just so you know you're only 1 away before you start going. But that 1 part of durability, especially in a 40 durability recipe, can make all the difference in getting something high quality, which is what the benefit is at the end of the day of spending that incredible cost that it is to get everything melded. It does make a big difference. But let's carry on anyway with the same strategy that I would use. So I want to start getting my inner quiet stacks, so put on steady hand, and then I'll start using hasty touch. Oh, so we got a good, so use tricks of the trade. But actually what I'm going to do, instead of just using this mindlessly down to 10, in this recipes that only have 40 durability, I prefer to activate a manipulation when it gets to 20. So now we've got good again, so tricks of the trade. Bring it up to 30. Then use another hasty touch. And now we see we've got a decision to make. We got to do tricks of the trade again. We're back to 40, and we got 3 stacks. I got quite high CP, I got quite lucky with that one. But we'll just cast our steady hand again. Another hasty touch. Once again another hasty touch. Down to 20, want to use another manipulation. So we're just repeating the same pattern again and activating tricks of the trade every time it comes along. See, we're already up to 6 stacks now, 7. So we're up to on manipulation, but I don't want to cast hasty touch without steady hand. So another steady hand. Another one of these, and now we've got up 20 durability and we've got 136 CP left. So now this is when it's important to have a kind of feel for what your costs are, and having done quite a few craftings before, but I'll help you out here. So instead of doing another manipulation, which would take this right down, although I could afford to do it, what I much rather is use my wombo combo to finish off this recipe. So I'll cost greater strides, that costs 32. My innovation, which costs 18. So that's 30, 40, 50 together, and then Beauregard's blessing. So altogether I need but 74 points, and if I'd cast my manipulation, you see, I wouldn't have had enough to do this. And your wombo combo, as I'm going to show you here, is just going to finish that off from 22% right up to 100%. It's so effective. It increased it by 887, and that had room to spare. Honestly, that probably could have done over 1,000 quality increase by itself. So now we have 10 durability left. And you see, now I was talking about how waste not sometimes can be just that little bit of extra that can make a difference. If, for instance, you only had the other ability, the durability, that would, you only had the gear that would only allow 44 in 1 increase, you wouldn't have been able to do this craft so far, because you would have run out of durability already. But with waste not, that reduces the loss to 5, if you cast that now, then your synthesis ability is only going to cost 5 points, see? So I could have actually done 2 of those to complete my recipe. So that's one of those sort of rare circumstances where the stars just align and you've got enough CP, just the right kind of durability that it can make a difference. But in most circumstances I don't actually use that ability. But that, in general, using the sort of manipulation and the combination of hasty touch and steady hand with the wombo combo of greater strides, innovation, Beauregard's blessing, is how I'm gonna get level 50 materials like this done. But let's have a look at another thing. How about we look at a level 55 recipe? Let's make some weaver's gloves. So I could use my hippogriff leather, my HQ one. I'm going to show you once again how to make level 55 items using just regular materials. So I have a twin thread and a hippogriff material already. So let's go ahead and make this. Careful synthesis. So once again, I'm going to start just with the inner quiet. Now, because I've made this recipe before, I know that it requires an ingenuity and 2 increases in progress to finish. If I didn't use ingenuity, it would probably require about 6 different increases in progress to finish this. So what I want to do when I finish off my recipe is make sure I have 20 durability and 32 CP to use ingenuity too. And I'll show you later on. Once again, this is a case of I'm so well melded and I'm at the very highest level my leather worker can be So I only required 2 increases with ingenuity to finish a level 55 recipe, and this is just through experience that I know that. And I'll show you in a minute with another class that isn't completely melded, another way of doing this. But because I know that, I just want to make sure I finish my recipe with 32 left over and 2 durability to complete it. So I'm going to get straight stuck into making my inner quiet stacks. So I'm going to put on my hasty touch. I've got a good, so tricks of the trade. And then start increasing my stacks. Oh, another one. It's a bit lucky. I just keep going. And see, because this is free, it literally just doesn't cost anything on this bar. And because my CP is practically full, I'm just going to go ahead and use a manipulation now. Put my steady hand back on. I've got another tricks of the trade. And then just keep getting my stacks up. Another tricks of the trade. Oh, another fail, but wow, all these tricks of the trade. Well, it's very lucky, but there's a lot of room for error, so you don't actually need this many for it to be effective. So I'll use another manipulation, another steady hand, and keep increasing. Now because I've had so many tricks of the trade so far, you saw I just ignored that and increased my quality significantly more. This comes with experience. You have to craft a lot to get a good feel for just how many CP you're going to need. In a normal circumstance, and when you're first beginning, I would just use tricks of the trade every time that you're not full CP, just because that's the safer way. But in time, you'll start to learn just what your limits are, and that's what makes a good crafter against the poor crafter. But here, condition excellent is the first time we've seen this so far, and this is a slightly different sort of condition, where the next ability that I use is going to have a massive bonus effect, like literally astronomical. It's even better than the wombo combo. So what I'm going to be using in a moment is Byrogot's Blessing. Here we go, without even using anything else, straight to 100%. But the reason I did that was because I know from experience that this just would be enough to get it to 100%. In a normal circumstance though, if you don't take advantage of the excellent right there, the next condition is poor. And if you use an ability when the condition is poor to increase the quality, it has an incredibly huge demodifier, so it makes it much weaker. So you have to be very careful when you're doing your wombo combo, or if you're setting something up, to still keep an eye on the condition, because if you just use your abilities without looking at this, it might be that you activate innovation just before your Byrogot's Blessing and it goes down to poor and everything will be for wasted. But in general, you'll see condition when it was at excellent and I had 8 stacks, my Byrogot's Blessing was easily going to finish it off. But I'll show you now just how, but this is a good example if I can show you just how strong ingenuity is. So if I use my careful synthesis, 51 increase. So this would in total take 4 different increases of progress to complete the item. Whereas if I cast my ingenuity and then cast my careful synthesis, you'll see I got 107, more than double an increase on progress. And the reason that's so effective is for a lot of these recipes, especially the 40 durability ones and the level 70 items, every point of durability counts towards increasing your inner quiet stacks. So if you don't use ingenuity, then you've just pretty much wasted 3 durability, 30 durability, that's a 92 CP Master's Mend for the cost of 32 for ingenuity. You see, that's a massive difference, and it only gets bigger the higher the quality of the item. So when you're making level 70 items, the ingenuity usually saves you about 150 CP. That's almost half your CP pool by itself. That's why I think this item is pretty much indispensable for 100% crafting level 70 items. And yet I don't see anyone else using it, but I can't see why not. So here we go. Finish the craft. We got a bit lucky with that excellent there, but now I'll show you another one with my weaver and I'll make another item just to show you how that works. And maybe we won't get lucky this time with the excellence, so it can be more reliable. Now you see my weaver. I have most of the gear, like my waist and my rings my neck and my ears that are the same for every one of my crafts. You'll notice they're all fully melded already. But all my other gear, though, barely has any materia in it. So this is sort of a base level that once you've got your character to level 50 and you've got yourself all your high quality gear, which isn't too expensive, this is probably the level you'll be crafting at. So it's a little bit more of a fair example. So let's go ahead and make this the Weaver's Gibbous, the most fun hat in the game to wear. I'm sure you'll agree. So I've already got a feather and 2 twin threads, so let's make some woolen cloth real quick and just show off once again my example of making lower level items very easily using this same strategy. So inner quiet, great strides, steady hand, advanced touch. Another greater strides, another advanced touch. Now another great strides, innovation, another steady hand to make sure I get 100%, Byrigot's blessing, 100%, and that'll just work. And then my careful synthesis too, because I know it's 100% successful. I don't have to worry about that failing. Just work every time. And to get my woolen cloth, I'll need 2 of these, so I'll just do another one real quick. Now I can, like later on, one of the sections is going to be on macros, and I can use a macro to do this for me because why not? But it's just a little bit quicker to do it by yourself, so that's why I'm doing that just now. There we go. And room to spare. Oh, 84%. I maybe did something wrong there without looking. Oh well, it's not a big deal. Wow, I didn't get the high quality. Well, there you go. Goes to show why you should take your time with things like this. But having the 2 pieces like this will be more than enough for me to get a high quality woolen cloth. And another thing you can do if you have the CP to spare like I do is once you get to this point here where you have your great strides and your steady hand and your inner quality, is activate an innovation early and then start activating your advanced touches. And that way, see that huge difference that you get. This way I get 2 of my advanced touches with the innovation. And that in itself is enough to get 100%. But that way you need your goldsmith at level 50 and you need just that little bit more of a CP pool to be able to activate this ability. So there we go, I've got my cloth. So let's go ahead and make the Weaver's Gibbous. So I'll use this is the twin thread, this is the level 50 material, which is why in most cases it's okay to just use the normal ones in my strategy and then compensate with high quality other goods that are quite easy to make. And the thing about my twin thread, sometimes I'll sit and make a big stack of twin thread, and I'll use my normal quality ones for crafting and then sell the high quality ones on the marketplace, and that way I can sit and make quite a lot of gold while I'm creating materials for crafting. But let me show you this strategy. This is going to be quite similar to the other one, but what I like to do when I know I don't have enough progress to do this in just 2 bars is cast my inner quiet first, always. Tricks of the trade. Is cast my ingenuity first. So I'll cast my ingenuity. Oh, it increases it up to 101. And this way I know that it's going to take me 2 more to finish off my Weaver's Gibbous. And you can do it this way and it just gives you a little bit more security. It means you don't have to do as much maths in your head to worry about, oh, do I need to have 32 left over, I need to have 2 more areas left over, I need to have 2 durability left over at the end. This way, if you just do your ingenuity 2 first, you activate this to put up to 100, you know that it's going to be about between 150 and 100 easily to finish off your item. So at this point, you can carry on with increasing your stacks and know that you just need 20 durability at the end and to not worry about your CP. So let's get on and start making our hasty touch stacks. So steady hand, hasty touch, which is exactly the same as the last time. We're using tricks of the trade every time it comes up and activating hasty touch along with steady hand to get as many stacks of inner quiet as possible. So okay, we're down at 10 durability, so we're going to use our Master's Mend 2, which is our most efficient way of gaining durability back. And now we notice we're also running quite low in CP, so what we have to do now is just be a little bit more careful. and know that at this run we're going to have to use our wombo combo to get it back up to max. So use our steady hand, use it once more, use our... we don't even have to worry about our trickster trade because we know at 8 stacks, this is just a thing that comes with practice, once you have 8 stacks this full combo is going to give more than enough to finish off the recipe. So I'll just go ahead and do Great Strides, Innovation, and a Byrogot's Blessing. Finishes off the recipe, and now we can finish off the rest of this craft. And there we have it. Just the same sort of strategy and a little bit more leeway of using the ingenuity first. By doing that, it just means that you don't have quite as much maths to do in your head towards the end, but the more efficient way of doing that, and if you're comfortable with calculating all the CP costs. Okay guys, welcome to the final section of the crafting part of this video. It's going to be just showing you how the exact sort of same strategy that I've been using for level 55 items can be used to craft even the highest level of 70 items in the game. So I've got an order for one of my guild members to make them an astral choker, and they've provided me with the peacock ore which you require to make the rose gold ingot, which is one of the pieces of this. And it's pretty much one of the biggest limiting factors on the level 70 items, is they all require a level 70 material which requires 9 pieces of like any material. They range from animal fats to ores to all kinds of things, but these can only be gained using philosophy, which you have to get from grinding dungeons. So once someone brings me 9 of these in the guild, I can pretty much craft for them any of the level 70 gear in the game. And this is just using the same strategy as I have before, and I'm going to show you how now. Now to begin with, you need to make the level 70 crafting material, which is required. So in this case I'm making the astral choker. I already have a hippogriff leather and an astral eye, which I crafted before. And but I need the rose gold ingot. Now it requires 9 peacock ore, and you cannot get high quality peacock ore. So you have to use the 9 normal quality, which is why I like to use 2 high quality pieces here, just to give me a better chance at making it at level high quality. But notice, even with just these 2, it's only 217 total out of the almost 3000 quality. So making this item at high quality is just luck, and although it helps with making the final quality item, it's actually not essential. With using my strategy, even with a normal quality rose gold ingot, this is going to be very easy to make at 100% high quality. But we'll go ahead and I'll show you the strategy I'll use anyway. And it's just the same as the strategy that I was using before to make the hippogriff leather. I'm going to start with the inner quiet, and I know it's going to take me 3 different increases to get this to full quality, and I mean full progress, but there's tricks of the trade here, so just activate that, and I'll activate another careful synthesis. And you'll probably notice that if you're using, even making the hippogriff leathers or the twin threads or the golden inks, you'll find that before you're fully melded, this is probably the sort of circumstance that you're looking at before you continue anyway, because it's going to take you 3 different increases in progress to get this up to the full. You're probably going to end up looking like this at 20 durability before you even started increasing in quality. And what you want to do is, I think the best thing to do at this point is, you've activated your 2 progresses, is now to hit a manipulation. And that way, as you're increasing your steady hand to start getting stacks, you're already doing something, you're increasing your durability, so you're making the most out of the manipulation. So you should try and cast abilities like steady hand and innovation during the manipulation, as long as it's not going to waste it by going above 40, because that way you're just getting the most use out of your manipulation. It's just a little thing, but it's better than casting it before, where you'll waste a stack of your steady hand to cast manipulation. So let's go ahead and start trying to get some stacks. So here we go. No problem so far. Back down to 20, so I'm going to cast another manipulation. Some more steady hand. Oh, we got a good, so we'll cast this. We'll put our steady hand back on. Puts it back up to 40. Cast this another 2 times. Oh, that was a shame, but we'll cast it again. And because we want to do a wombo combo to get the best chance of getting this high quality, and we know the wombo combo costs 74 CP, we're just going to stop here because we won't have enough to cast another manipulation and our combo, and go ahead and see if we can get this at high quality. So greater strides, innovation, and Beauregard's blessing. And here's a little trick that I like to use when you've got enough CP, just to kind of give yourself an extra shot. I've only got one stack of steady hand left, but I want all these things active before I cast my Beauregard's blessing. But I have plenty of CP, so although we have one stack of it left, let's refresh our steady hand. And see, this is the perfect example of why you should do this when you have enough CP. The condition is now good. And when you have a good or an excellent condition, remember, it massively increases your bonus modifier on the CP. So now we have great strides, our steady hands, so we have 100% success, innovation, and a good condition. So go ahead and cast this, and right up to 87%, and that's really good for a level 70 crafting material. So we'll go ahead and finish that off with our careful synthesis, and there we go, we got high quality rose gold ingot. What that's going to do is going to make making the astral choker pretty much trivial. It'll make it very, very easy, but you're not always going to get so lucky with using to make these at high quality, but you take what you get. And using this strategy that I'm going to show you here is going to be enough with room to spare, massive room to spare anyway. So we'll go ahead and make these. And look, it requires control 318. I have control 344, and that's mostly because of all the melding that I've done on my gear. So what you might find to make these level 70 choices, you don't need all the melding that I have, but you might require a bit of dagger soup just to get the control high enough, and that'll put you about the same level as I am doing this now. Like, I could use some dagger soup just now and it would make it even easier, but I'm just trying to show you just now, just from whatever level that you're looking at to make high quality, it's going to be just about the same as you see here. So we'll go ahead, and when we're making level 70 gear, sometimes if I'm making it for myself, I'll be a bit more, you know, risque and use just normal quality gear, especially if I made a high quality one of these. But because it's for a guildmate and it's not my peacock ore that's being wasted, I'm going to go ahead and use a high quality of each just to give myself the maximum chance of success. And honestly, these pieces are very easy to make in high quality when you use the strategy that I've shown you. So let's go ahead and synthesize this. And it's going to start just the same as everyone. Just look at that, how much it starts because of that luck we got before. If we hadn't been so lucky with the rose gold ingot, it would have started at about half of this, but still, we're going to have way more than enough room to make this very easily. But I'm going to go through the full strategy anyway. Start off with the inner quiet, and it's got good, perfect, so tricks of the trade. And now look at this, 233 progress. If I wanted to just whale through this with careful synthesis, this would take me, it might even take me 8 tries of progress to get this all the way across, like almost like the full durability. This is where Ingenuity 2 is just so effective. And I cast that now, and it's going to take the recipe down to level 47, and look at that, 105 in one go. So I can cast this twice, and now I'm just one tick of using careful synthesis away from finishing the recipe. If I wanted to get it this close, using just careful synthesis by itself, it would have taken me at least 40-50 durability worth, which is 160 cost, a Master's Mend 2 in itself. That's how good this Ingenuity 2 is, and this is why it's so important, especially for these level 70 items. So I'm just going to go ahead now and carry on the way I would for all the other items that I've crafted. Go for steady hand. I've got a good, so I'll use tricks of the trade. Now let's just get these stacks up using hasty touch. Oh. I should use tricks of the trade again, but I'm so confident because I know how high this is that I know I don't have to. I just keep using this. Now we're down to 20 durability, so we can get the most out of our Master's Mend 2 now, because it increases it by 60. I'm going to use one of these. Use a steady hand too. I've got a good, let's just use it just for practice. And start increasing the stacks again. Here we go. And see, we've failed 3 of these durabilities already this time around, which is quite significant at the 80%, and still, look how close we are. We haven't even done our combination yet. But let's go ahead and just do the combo anyway. We're so close, so we may as well. Great strides, steady hand, innovation, a Beauregard's blessing. And there we go, 100%, and there is so much room for error. We still have 44 durability, I mean, 44 CP, 30 durability, we used our combo earlier, we skipped a few, the tricks of the trade, hit with the careful synthesis, and there we go, the Astral Choker, one of the top items in the game that you can possibly craft, crafted very easily with a load of room to spare. We could have failed a lot more hasty touches, and we did fail 3 out of maybe the 10 that about, well, about 10 that we did. We failed 3, which is quite significant, and we still had all that room to spare. This strategy, which I use, I think is the most effective way for crafting in the game, and it doesn't require too many things leveled up to level 50. Of course you want to get to level 50 all the ones that you actually want to craft with, but using this small section of skills, I think you'll find that anything in the game is within your reach to craft. But I'm happy always to find new strategies or learn new ways. I've read quite a few when I was first learning how to craft. None that I've found have been quite as effective as this way. But if you have any different ways that you like to craft, or anything that you think that I've missed out that would make people's lives easier, then please just leave a comment in the description below, or maybe you want to add me. I'm Knights Zenith on the Goblin server, and we could chat about it. Like, I love to learn new ways to make this a bit easier to help others. But that's it for the crafting section. The next part of this video is just going to be a bit that I'm show you the optimum way to meld all your gear, which I've found a few strategies and different things online, but I'm going to show you one that I think is even better than those as well. But please, my channel mostly, if you have a look through it, is League of Legends related things, but I'm going to be kind of mixing it up and showing other content, so if you're interested in that, please like, subscribe, and share this video around with anyone that has struggled with crafting, or the crafters in your guild, and hopefully it helps them out. But that's me for now, guys, and the next part of this video, like I said, it's just going to be a screen showing the melding, optimum melding ideas. Alright guys, this is the final part of my video. This is showing you the best way, in my opinion, to meld your gear for your crafts. Now, the thing you'll find at first is all your crafters all use the same like waist, so your same belt, the same necklace, the same earrings, the same wrists, and the same rings. So when it comes to melding, it would be like my recommendation to meld all those things first, because no matter which crafter you use, they all have the same one, and it's going to be at when you're, and all this melding is for the optimum melds at level 50. So once you've got to level 50 and you have all the best gear, this is what you should be melding into them. So for your Raptor Skin Merchant's Purse, which is your number one, like the best item you can use, you'll find that it's not level 50, so you can't use level 4 materia. So which is why some of them use level 4 and some of them only use level 3. Now, the biggest thing I'll say is a lot of the guides I've seen online tend to give you what they say is the optimum way of melding. And for when I was first melding, I think my leather worker and my goldsmith, I used this optimum way. And unfortunately, the way that melding works in this game is, although everything has a few slots that give you a 100% chance of success, after that you can actually meld up to 5 materia in any item, but the success rate drops quite significantly. So the optimum way actually can result in being quite an expensive way, because you might say, okay, I put this control 4 materia in, and then control 3, and then craft 3, and with only 3 materia you've got it maxed out on the stats it can get. But that craft 3 materia maybe put you back about 15,000 gil, and it might take you like 4 or 5 tries to get it at about 20%. So that's maybe going to cost you about 100,000 gil to get that item in, or that materia in. Whereas if you use my method, wherever possible, I like to use level 1 materia that only going to cost you about 200-300 gil in the marketplace. And that way, even if it's 30%, 20%, 10%, the chance of you getting those 3 in under 100,000 gil worth of materia is vastly superior. So this is what I'd like to say is the cheapest way, and I think in many people's eye probably the best way, because you may as well use up the slots that your thing has. And not only that, when you use level 1 materia, in like I like to use when I'm maxing out my gear, the actual core chance of it going into the item is increased. So although you maybe take 4 or 5, you use your 4th and 5th slot, which go all the way down to about 10% chance of success. If you're using a tier 3 or tier 4 materia as your 3rd and 4th sort of forbidden melds, they're only going to have 22% chance anyway. So it seems to be a trick that a lot of the guides online, in my opinion, have missed out. So up on the screen just now you can see I've just gone through everything, which shows you like offhand, head, body, hands, etc. And it's assuming you have the HQ, like the high quality version of each of those items, and beside it in blue is the total amount of craftsmanship that you can go in red is the total amount of control, and in green is the total amount of CP extra that each item can get, or like the maximum that it can afford to put in it from materia. And then below it I've just got the optimum meld. So and I'd put them in that order because it puts in the most expensive pieces first when you've got 100% chance, and then the very cheap pieces in when you don't have 100% chance. And that's really all there is to it. I think, like I said, a lot of the guides online give you a most efficient way, but I think this is the cheapest way and the best way. If anyone's got anything that they think is different or any suggestions, please let me know. I'm always looking to improve these things. Oh, and of course, one thing I should point out is where I've written Control 3 Craftsman 2 CP1. Although Control and CP kind of go up in the same stages as their like level of materia, so CP1 gives 1 CP, CP2 2 CP, Control 1 1 Control 2 Control, etc. Craftsmanship works different, whereas level 1 gives you 3, level 2 gives you 4, and level 3 gives you 5, and level 4 gives you 6. So make sure that if I've written Craftsmanship 2, that means you're using level 2 materia, or if I've written Craftsmanship 4, that means you're using level 4 materia, not just one that gives +4. But that's it, it's up on the screen, and I've actually included a guide in the description which you can read a bit about melding and all the such like, but they actually give you, like I was saying before, the most efficient way. So maybe if you have like 200 billion gil and you don't care about the cost of your materia and you want to kit everything out to the best and you want to do it as quick as possible, then you might want to follow one of those guides. But if you're just a casual player like me and you just don't have that amount of gil available, then this is the strategy I would recommend to do it the cheapest way. And that is the end of my guide. Like I was saying before, thanks to anyone who watched, and any real hardcore new crafters that watched this all the way through, that kudos to you, I'm pretty impressed. But please like, subscribe. I don't usually say that on a lot of my other videos, but I just like to get this video a little bit of visibility so that people that are brand new to crafting, or maybe people that have been doing it for a while and are just looking out for some new tips, can actually get a chance to see this and learn a bit more about crafting. So everyone, thanks a lot. I hope this has been helpful, and if people do like it, I'll try and make more videos like this in the future. Adios.